Welcome to episode 102 of EDH Commander Challenge. I'm your host, BT. Now today we've got a crazy matchup for you. But before we get to that, a quick shout out to our newest patron pledgehammer and a longtime friend of mine, Gregory Rush. Greg, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Next week's episode will be dedicated to you. Without any further ado, let's get to those opening hands. In this corner, with an opening hand of Vivid Marsh, Temple of Malady, Sheltered Thicket, Azorius Signet, Demir's Signet, Gruul's Signet, and Fires of Yavimaya with his Berg-style General Niv-Mizzet Reborn, we have Mr. Gemi. And in this corner, with an opening hand of a Forest, Rogue's Passage, Mosswort Bridge, Harmonize, Life's Legacy, Garruk Primal Hunter, and Oracle of Mul Daya, with the mono-green General Polukranos World Eater, we have the Mad Scientist, Francis. Francis won the dice roll to begin. Let's start the card fight. Francis plays Mosswort Bridge and hides away a card, while Gemi plays Temple of Malady and keeps his scryed card on top. Francis plays Reliquary Tower and passes, while Gemi plays Vivid Marsh and passes. Francis plays a Forest and passes. Gemi plays Sheltered Thicket and casts Mana Morphose, removing a counter from his marsh for a green mana, drawing a card, and uses the mana to cast Demir's Signet before passing. Francis plays a basic and casts the oh-so-epic Oracle of Mul Daya. He reveals his top card to be a Forest, which he plays as extra land, and since his next card after that is another land, he just passes. Gemi plays a Vivid Grove and pays 3 mana, including removing his last counter from his marsh for a white mana, to cast Mortify, killing the Oracle of Mul Daya before passing his turn. Francis plays another basic and casts Garruk Primal Hunter, upticking it to make himself a 3/3 beast token before passing. Meanwhile, Gemi plays a Murmuring Bosk tapped and pays Wooburg, including removing a counter from his grove, to cast his General Niv-Mizzet Reborn. From his 10 revealed cards off its effect, he adds the pair color cards of Niv-Mizzet Firemind, Putrefy, Vindicate, and Necromaster Dragon before passing and discarding down to 7 cards. Francis plays Blighted Woodland. Then he upticks his Garruk to make another beast token. Then he casts Life's Legacy to sacrifice the new token he just made to draw 3 more cards before passing the turn. Gemi plays a tapped Stomping Ground before casting both Azorius and Gruul's Signet. Then Gemi attacks Garruk with Niv-Mizzet. Garruk dies, and then Gemi passes. During his end step, Francis sacrifices his woodland to net 2 more basic lands from his deck into play. Francis plays a basic and casts Urza's Incubator, calling Hydra. Then he casts a much cheaper Mana Gorger Hydra, as well as his General Polukranos World Eater. This also places a +1/+1 counter on the Mana Gorger. Then Francis attacks with his Beast token, landing the first 3 damage of the game on Gemi, before passing. During the end step, Gemi casts Putrefy, killing Polukranos, which places another plus counter onto the Mana Gorger. This also uses up the last counter on Gemi's Vivid Grove. Gemi casts Time Wipe, taking 1 damage from his Murmuring Bosk, bouncing his Niv-Mizzet back to his hand to destroy the remaining creatures on Francis's field. Then he passes the turn. Francis plays Rogue's Passage and recasts Polukranos. Then he casts Harmonize to draw 3 more cards and passes the turn. Gemi recasts his General, and this time nets the pair cards Suffocating Blast, Bring to Light, and Hunting Grounds to his hand. Then he pays 3 mana, including taking a damage from his Bosk again, for a white mana to cast Vindicate, killing Polukranos once more before passing. Francis plays a basic and casts both Akroma's Memorial and Seek the Horizon to grab 3 more basics from his deck to his hand before passing. Gemi casts Sylvan Reclamation to exile both the Memorial and Incubator. Then Gemi attacks with Niv, and Francis takes 6. During his second main phase, Gemi casts Darksteel Ingot and passes. Francis plays a basic and casts Journey of Discovery with Entwine to get 2 more basics from his deck into play. Then casts Hooded Hydra, which comes in with 6 +1/+1 counters, and he passes. Gemi plays Temple of Mystery, keeping the Scryed card on top, and then casts Hunting Grounds, taking a damage from his Murmuring Bosk. Gemi has Threshold, so the card is indeed active. Then he attacks Francis again with Niv, for another 6 damage. Then he passes. Francis plays Exploration. Gemi doesn't use his grounds for some reason, however. Then Francis plays a Forest and casts Sundering Vitae to destroy the grounds just in case. Gemi counterspells this, however, with a Suffocating Blast, which also deals 3 damage to his Hydra. Francis recasts his Polukranos, and Gemi finally uses his Hunting Grounds trigger to drop Niv-Mizzet the Firemind into play. Francis then attacks with his Hooded Hydra, which Gemi doesn't block, and takes 6 damage. Then Francis passes. Francis takes 1 damage from the Firemind trigger after Gemi draws a card. Then Gemi pays Wooburg to cast Bring to Light, exiling and then casting for free a Joyra Weatherlight Captain. Then he attacks Francis with his General again. Francis swiftly prevents the damage by casting Moment's Peace, and Gemi chooses not to use his Hunting Ground trigger again and simply passes. Francis plays a basic and a Ghost Quarter as his 2 lands. Then he pays 13 mana total to turn his World Eater into its monstrous state, placing 6 +1/+1 counters on it and dealing 6 damage to the Firemind, killing it. And also uses his Hideaway card, as he has 10 power, to play Rancor on his General. But Gemi casts Unmake to exile Polukranos and stop this from happening. Also, before the Firemind died, Gemi tapped it to draw a card and deals Francis 1 damage. Also, with his Hunting Grounds trigger on the stack, Gemi brings in Silumgar the Drifting Death. Then Francis attacks again with his Hooded Hydra, but Gemi blocks with Silumgar as Francis's turn comes to an end. Gemi then casts Depter's Knell and declares that his Firemind will be back very soon. Then he attacks Francis with both his General and Silumgar for some heavy damage. Then he passes. Francis plays another basic and casts Hydra Broodmaster, to which he immediately pays 9 mana into it to turn it into its monstrous state, while at the same time making not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 4/4 Hydra tokens. With his Hunting Ground trigger on the stack, Gemi drops in Necromaster Dragon. Then Francis attacks with his Hooded Hydra once more, which again Gemi chooses not to block, and takes 6 more damage before Francis passes. With his Depter's Knell trigger, Gemi stays true to his word and brings Niv-Mizzet the Firemind back into play. Then deals Francis 1 damage when he draws for the turn with its effect. Then he casts Samut Tyrant Smasher. This triggers Joyra, letting Gemi draw another card, which triggers the Firemind once more to deal another damage to Francis. Gemi then wastes no time moving to combat and attacks with all 4 of his dragons. This causes Silumgar's effect to trigger 4 times and deal -4/-4 to Francis' field, killing all the Hydra tokens he just made. But Francis does manage to flashback Moment's Peace from the graveyard to save himself from the combat damage. In his second main phase, Gemi casts Decimate, targeting his Darksteel Ingot and Francis's Rogue's Passage, Exploration, and Hydra Broodmaster, all of which are destroyed except the Ingot, which is a legal target but indestructible. Gemi then uses Samut's effect to boost a dragon, but more so just to scry. He leaves the card scryed on top and passes to Francis. Out of resources for the time being, and unable to handle another combat phase, the mad scientist taps out. And thus, Gemi stands tall victorious in this battle that his reborn general took the Hydras to Nivplex City. Francis's best card here, in my opinion, was actually Moment's Peace. The card bought Francis 2 turns to find some answers. And had he drawn a mana doubler like Gauntlet of Power, or Cage Sun, or even Vernal Bloom, the Polukranos could have been able to do way more this game. By the same token, you could argue that many cards deserve the MVP spot for Gemi, but in my opinion, Depter's Knell was a nail in the coffin for Francis. Even if Polukranos had destroyed all of Gemi's creatures in one fell swoop, during his upkeep, they would all just come back again and again, one by one, unless Francis had some more artifact/enchantment spot removal. But then even after Gemi's graveyard would be empty, he could then start stealing some of Francis's creatures, like the Hydra Broodmaster. Do you agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you enjoy our content, consider becoming a patron. You'll gain access to some sweet bonuses while helping out the channel at the same time. Check the link in the description below. Thanks everyone. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you're a fan of EDH gameplay and you like whether it be 1v1 or multiplayer and you want to be part of the ever-growing Command Your Challenge family, just make sure you smash the subscribe button and notification bell down below. We do weekly videos. Don't forget as well to like, comment, share our videos, but most importantly, enjoy them. On behalf of all of our members here, I'm your host, BT. Feel free to check out all of the videos in the channel, Join our game. It's now your turn. Cheers!